Thanks so much for having me on. I would say on diversification, partly yes. For the most part, what's called subscription and services revenues for Coinbase is mostly interest income. So it's not really, what I would call a core diversifier of the business in terms of an actual, business that really subscriptions. But in all fairness, interest income is a common method of growing revenues and monetization within the brokerage space, and Coinbase is no exception. It's done a particularly good job growing its revenue base with their partnership with Circle and the USDC coin.
Crypto trading has died down for good, or would it come back? Because we're still seeing a fairly decent performance this year for the main crypto entities.
It's a really good point. I think you want to separate the tokens from crypto trading. Crypto trading has come down materially, for sure, but the coins have been somewhat resilient. Obviously, Bitcoin has done very well this year, so some of the bigger coins. So I think it's, I wouldn't want to be the one that says crypto trading is gone forever, but certainly it has not kept up pace with the strength of the underlying tokens. You've seen far less engagement, and you've seen that in results of all the crypto exchanges. I think part of that is a lot of the speculative fever that impacted crypto, I would say in 2021 and part of 22 has sort of died down. And it's really the core holders that are still there holding the coins.
Christian, I've got to ask you, because a fair bit of Coinbase's revenue came via the way of, the altcoin revenue. You're mentioning some of the coin revenue. Yep. A fair bit of it came via the way of the staking revenue. And these are all things that the SEC isn't necessarily taking such an all-too-kind approach towards. So when you factor in, I suppose, the regulatory risk, and, even though they've got a higher take rate, it's almost an empty take rate in some respects, if you think about it from a longer-term perspective. How do you remain bullish on a company like Coinbase with such a scary overhang in that sense, even despite the fact that they're willing to fight tooth and nail against Gensler and the like?
So to be clear, we are not bullish on Coinbase at all. We've been underperformed since the IPO. And I think the regulatory risk is, somewhat of an existential threat to the business model. And they have no choice. They have to fight us all the way because under the current SEC, call it guidance, the business model does not work. Most of its revenues essentially go away. So they have to fight it tooth and nail. My suspicion is ultimately there will be some resolution, if you like, some lay of the land as to what can trade in the US. The US has always been much more conservative around what it allows retail to trade. Think about things like FX trading. There's very low leverage allowed in the US. Other jurisdictions have very, very high leverage. And I think crypto is going to be similar. It will just be a smaller range of products that will ultimately, I think, be allowed to trade in the US.